Well, good morning, everyone. We are back once again for another season of NFL Fantasy Matchup. As usual, we have Jed over in the suburb of Illinois and Jimmy over in Phoenix, Arizona.
It's good to be back. I missed doing this, and for the 5 listeners, excited to have you back too.
Yeah. Well, it always seems a little weird. Is that right after the NFL season, then we go straight into NBA fantasy football, and then it's dead for a period of time because none of us play baseball fantasy league.
Yeah, exactly. There's like this lull. It's good for the summer because summer is always crazy with kids' schedules. So now it's back into the routine.
I also think that this year there's going to be a lot of, right? If you start looking at some of the mock drafts, wide receivers are going early and pretty high up there. You've got changing of the guards for some of the quarterbacks with Brady out, Rodgers not at the elite level anymore. And these running back situations are really going to change a lot of the ways that you do your drafts as well, too.
Yeah. Now, at the same time, with everything that's happening, training camp, look, the draft was exciting. There's been so much movement, everything like that. Now, today, we're going to talk a little bit about news and notes and some of the general things that are happening with training camps in the weeks ahead. I would love for us to break down some of the running backs, tight ends, all that stuff. But let's talk a little bit about news and notes, but touch a little bit about even running backs in the running back situation today as well, too. So let me start this off. Cooper Kupp was injured in practice yesterday.
Oh,
look, he was out last year. He had an injury as well, too. Leg injury. He's getting a little bit older. Matthew Stafford's coming back from injury. What's your outlook on Cooper Kupp? Jim, is he somebody that you would still continue to draft in your top 5 this year?
I'll tell you this. So I was telling these guys, I did my first mock draft a week ago. And a week ago, the draft order was so different. It was supposed to be Justin Jefferson 1, either Cooper Kupp or Jamar Chase 2, right? Burrows is out. And now with Cooper Kupp injured, the question then becomes, are they somebody that you want to target with your second pick? Or do you want to go for somebody like Austin Eckler? Or even some people have been talking about a Travis Kelce up that high as well, too. So I don't know. Right now, if I had the second pick, I don't know. For sure, I would not pick Cooper. I don't know if I would pick Jamar Chase.
Yeah. Jed, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm weary of this whole switch to wide receiver. Personally, I'm I've always been a running back fan, but I also think you just have to, again, it's about understanding your draft position and what are you going to get with the second pick. And I feel like if you take that running back in round 1, what happens is there's still a lot of good wide receivers in round 2 you can get. Now, you could also argue the flip. It does work that way, but it's tough for me. I've never drafted a wide receiver first before. It feels pretty odd, but you're right. That is definitely the trend this year.
But if somebody's going to take a Christian McCaffrey first, there's no way you can pass up a Justin Jefferson, right? Based off of the points that he's produced.
Yeah, it's hard. He's definitely feels like the most consistent and the most solid. Yeah. But by the way, I was going to mention just as an outside of football thing is, have you guys seen that show Quarterbacks on Netflix?
I have. Yeah.
I was going to say, if any of you have not started watching that, it's great. I really enjoy it. I would highly recommend it if you're looking for some.
Have you watched all the seasons? Have you watched all the seasons already?
No, I'm in episode like 7 or 8 in the first season.
Okay. Yeah. They actually said Kirk Cousins looks the best. Like, people really resonated with Kirk Cousins, and people are intrigued by the Marcus Mariota story. He ends up leaving towards the end of the season.
Yeah, exactly. And you just get a lot of nice insight into how hard it is to be a quarterback, and I was just shocked at the amount of physical abuse. And these guys it's like they're one hit away from being done for the season, like constantly.
Just to let you know, Cooper Kupp may be out weeks with a soft injury, hamstring injury as well, too. They also lost Allen Robinson, but Jed, you know who they still have, right?
Who's that again?
Cam Akers.
Cam Akers.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, that's your guy. Hey, you know what? I got to say, Tommy, if there was ever a year that I might think about drafting Cam Akers, this is the year. I mean, so I agree with you, man. Like all signs are pointing up for him.
Hey, look, Sony Michelle retired.
Yep.
So Allen Robinson is gone. Cam Akers, I think Tyler Higbee, but Cam Akers is pretty good.
He had that one game towards the end of last season, right? He had one.
Well,
game,
no, he actually had like 3 or 4 pretty good games. Remember, he got benched midway, and then he came back and did pretty well. But I'll tell you this: like the determining factor is how much can Matthew Stafford play, right? Because Matthew Stafford is getting old, and if you looked at him, I would say he's towards the latter end of the quarterback ranks right now. I'll put him with Jared Goff. I'll put him even worse than an Aaron Rodgers, and so I don't know if he's going to be able to last the entire season.
What I think, so talking about storylines, Tommy, I always think about it in terms of teams. So I think we talked about this trend of wide receivers being drafted, but also in terms of teams, I think the Jets are super interesting. You guys know I'm an Aaron Rodgers hater. I want to see him fail, but I think he is a very interesting situation with the Jets, and especially. Has there been any more on Dalvin Cook? Has he signed anymore? Because I know there was a little bit of talk with him, which would have impacted Breece Hall for sure. But I think the Jets as a team are one that you gotta think about whether or not you're going to avoid them or if you're going to draft any of those players.
Yeah, the latest talk out ESPN was reporting the other day that some players within the Jets organization felt like Dalvin Cook came in, he and his representatives were a little slow in terms of making a decision, and so they were wondering, is he using the Jets to platform himself against rival teams like a Dolphins or anything like that to make him a bigger offer? So they were concerned that he was not taking it seriously or they were being used for a bigger contract.
Interesting.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of teams and running backs and all that, Jonathan Taylor as well too. You know, he made a trade request. Him and Jim Irsay, their owner, the Indianapolis owners, have been going back and forth with the agents on Twitter and everything like that. And so there was some reports that he had a back injury that he reported during his physical, all that stuff. At the end of the day, 2 questions. Do you think Jonathan Taylor will stay with the Colts? And 2, how high are you drafting him this year based upon what your reports are with just this contract situation, which goes to the bigger running back situation we had to talk about?
You know, so Jed talked a little bit about this, right? Jed, this is where maybe I disagree with you. I don't know if I'm going to draft any running backs really high. I'm actually purely looking at wide receivers. I'm looking at Travis Kelce. I'm even, you know me, I love my Josh Allen and some of these top tier quarterbacks. And here's the reason why, right? You don't know what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor. You don't know what's going to happen with Josh Jacobs. Even a Saquon Barkley, who signed a 1-year contract, there's some speculation that he's not going to work as hard. So anything that's going to put these running backs, where they're going to hurt themselves, where they are going to come back early from an injury, I was like, I don't think they're going to do that. The only safe bet I think is going to be out there is McCaffrey and Eckler. Everybody else, if you look down the road, right, there's so many questions about them. To draft them that high or spend that much capital is just not worth it. No,
I actually disagree. I think Bijan Robinson is going to go crazy, especially if you're an auction draft. People.
Bijan Robinson. But all those like Jonathan Taylor, are you going to draft high? Or are you going to spend a lot of money? Are you going to spend a lot of money on who is it? Josh Jacobs. You know, I think the rookies are going to be fine, but some of these older veterans, I just don't know if you want to spend the money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with the fact that we know, running back position, it's becoming where they split carries. They're not getting possession of the ball as much. And so that's, at the end of the day, what we're talking about is possession. Like, you want to have possessions. That's the only way you can score points. And there's just no systems where the running backs, consistently get the ball, save for a few, like Bijan Robinson is a good example of that. So I'm not disagreeing with you there. I just think for me too, I like to look at it not just by position, but also by teams. And like you guys know, every year I have 3 or 4 teams where I just say, you know what, I'm avoiding that team. I don't think they're going to do well overall. And that means there's going to be less points potentially. And so it'll be harder to get points out of those teams. So yeah, I mean, it's and I think the Jets are an interesting one. I think the Colts are an interesting one. I actually think the Colts, I kind of hope that Jonathan Taylor stays, because I think they're primed for a bounce back year. It's all dependent on this quarterback, right? This was it Anthony Richardson?
Yeah. And he's had an up and down training camp, right? He's done some really good things when he's got speed, but he has missed some easy throws as well too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a tough situation. But again, I think this is one of those teams that you got to think about, and then you got to make a decision. What do you think they're going to do? And then you can draft accordingly.
Okay, so here's the question. If you guys had Jonathan Taylor or Josh Jacobs on your dynasty, are you going to keep them?
Oh, yeah. You probably have to keep it. You're so good that you have to keep them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you guys know I've got both Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook. I'm definitely keeping Derrick Henry, even though I know he's probably like back of the top 10 for running backs. I'm definitely keeping him.
Yeah.
And even Dalvin Cook, even though he hasn't signed, I'm like probably going to keep him.
Really? You're going to keep Dalvin Cook? I don't know.
I'm just waiting to see where he's going to sign. And I'm expecting he'll split carries. Like wherever he goes, I'm expecting he's not going to be the focal point. But I mean, the running back position to me. So if anything, it tells you the running back position is even harder, right? It's like harder to find someone who can actually have a breakout week. Just because no system allows for that.
But here's my thing, though, Jed. Right? Like if you looked at every season, we talked about this last year. The running backs you draft early on are not the running backs you're going to end up with, right? Because towards the end of the season, what we started seeing is a lot of these guys, like Kenneth Walker. You can find that Kenneth Walker was not drafted until towards the latter rounds of the draft last year. I think you can find some really good running backs that you can plug and play, because these running backs are so fragile that by the end of the season, when it comes to most, you can find some people on the waiver wire. That's how I look at the waiver.
Jed, in terms of one team to avoid, definitely the Arizona Cardinals. I would avoid anything dealing with the Arizona Cardinals, even James Conner.
I don't know. Well, yeah, it's okay. I agree. So you guys know I had Kyler Murray, so that's a guy that I'm probably dropping, not keeping in the keeper league. But Marquise Brown, don't sleep on Marquise Brown. With Hopkins gone, I mean, he's going to, again, this is the situation where I agree they're probably going to be a losing team, not going to make the playoffs, but garbage time points still count the same in fantasy. And who else is going to get the ball from Kyler Murray? I feel like Marquise Brown is not a bad pick out of the Cardinals.
Yeah. So for me, James Conner is somebody interesting for me like that, right? I can't remember the coach's name, but they went away from him this year. They're going at a coach who's looking at running the ball more, especially with Murray could be out for somewhere between 6 to 8 games. So for me, I don't think he'll match the 14 total touchdowns he did 2 years ago, but I actually think Conner might be somebody that you might still want to consider in the Browns.
Yeah. Hey, Jed, George Pickens declares that he is the best in the world. How high do you think George Pickens will go this year, and how well do you think he'll do?
I like his bravado. I don't know. I don't even know where he is on his rankings. I was actually just looking at I was going back to the running back and was forgetting that Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb is another guy you guys were talking about, like who are guys that maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable with. I think that's one guy who's probably going to get the ball about. I don't know. Pickens, Jimmy, that's your guy. You were happy with Pickens last year.
Yeah, I like Pickens. Yeah. I mean, here's my thing. Pickett, the quarterback, I think he's going to have a pretty good year. He's got Deontay Johnson. He's got Allen Robinson now. They said that they're going to be committed to actually throwing the ball now that he's in his second year. I actually think that having Deontay Johnson there is going to be good. I still think that Pickens is going to get the bulk of the touchdowns. So for me, I actually would really consider him pretty high. I mean, I wouldn't draft him the first 2 or 3 rounds, but if he's there in the 4th round, I would actually.
Yeah, it looks like he's roughly in the 30 to 40 kind of ranking range for wide receivers. So that puts him kind of similar to almost like a Mike Williams, even a Marquise Brown, Michael Pittman, it looks like. So that's not bad.
Who's your running back for Pittsburgh? Do you guys remember? I know we're all kind of rusty, but
yeah, that's a good question.
He's the guy I drafted, but I mean, I'll look at his name right now. But people seem down on him.
No, it's Najee Harris, which I think a lot of times.
Yeah, Najee Harris.
Oh yeah, Najee Harris.
Jimmy bid it. I remember $92 on him.
I bid tons of money for that guy.
Yeah. He's currently sitting just outside the top 10. It looks like he's in
Yeah.
the 12, like 10 to 11 to 15 range.
Tom, I have to decide. So this is the reason I'm bringing up Najee Harris. I have to decide: do I drop a Najee Harris and keep a Justin Herbert? And right now, I'm leaning towards dropping Najee Harris
But
because
if who's your other quarterback? If not Justin Herbert.
I have nobody else.
Yeah, then you
Oh,
just
okay,
draft.
got it.
You're gonna draft.
Yeah,
him.
I would draft. But see, I like Justin Herbert. I think he's going to have a good year this year, and so I'll take the risk because I still have some pretty good running backs out there. Like I have McCaffrey, I think I have Eckler. So I think for me, I might drop Najee Harris. Justin.
Yeah, and I think the Chargers are in another one of those teams that you gotta again pay attention to and figure out what to do because they had a down year last year, I think, because of injury. But I think this year could be a nice bounce back. So I think you're right. I think Herbert's gonna, I think, be a good prospect to have a better year this year. I like Mike Williams. I like Keenan Allen. I mean, I think those are all guys you gotta look at.
Well, okay, don't take my guy, Jed, because my quarterback this year is going to be Justin Herbert, right? Because he's got a new offensive coordinator. Last year, he hurt his ribs in the second game, so they didn't throw much and all. They picked up a new wide receiver. They stacked up the line for him. And Kellen Winslow from the Cowboys, remember, he's the one that orchestrated Dak Prescott the last couple of years to just throw that ball. So I actually think that they're going to be committed to having Justin Herbert have a good year.
Yeah, that's the new coach, Kellen Moore, I think it is, right?
Oh, yeah, Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
Jen, are there? I know Jimmy's all in on Justin Herbert. Are there players that you're all in on this year? Because is there Cam Akers in your lineup here that you love?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple guys that I really like. The one I will say is, you guys know from last year, is Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard is like, I think is going to blow up. I mean, this guy is finally getting out of the shadow of Zeke. And if he gets the ball, even let's say 25% more than he did last year, he's going to have huge numbers.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that I really like.
Yeah.
Now, just so you know, his backup Ronald Jones has now been suspended for the first 2 games for NFL PED, so he is out for the first 2 games.
Yeah. My only hesitation about Tony Pollard, and actually I would consider him pretty hot, right? He's coming back from a broken leg. He's always been a backup. And so with Elliott gone, the question then becomes, if a Ronald Jones is not there or another decent backup, is he strong enough, big enough to be able to handle the entire season? Or are you going to get him for the first 6 games to figure out a way to trade him and then go for somebody else, right?
Jed and Jim, my player that I'm going all in on this year, besides Cam Akers, Trevor Lawrence. He's going in his 3rd year.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times he's going to take the lead. Calvin Ridley's coming back here. We saw Evan Ingram there. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be the quarterback that I'm identifying. Now, at the same time, I could bypass the Patrick Mahomes. I could bypass all of that and still get Trevor Lawrence somewhere in the middle of the round with a backup in either Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson.
I think that's a great call. Yeah, I love the Jags this year to make a leap. I think you're right. I think Trevor Lawrence can continue. People have forgotten about Calvin Ridley. I'm kind of sad that you just said his name because I think a lot of people forgot how good this guy is. And I think Trevor is definitely, and that's a really good strategy. Target him in the middle rounds. I'm glad you didn't say Deshaun Watson because I know some people are targeting Watson, and you guys know how much I can't stand that guy. So I'm glad you didn't say him.
No, actually, I was driving here. I was listening to the ESPN podcast, the fantasy podcast, and they were saying that the top 3 quarterbacks, of course, is going to be Jalen Hurts, it's going to be Allen from Buffalo, and it's going to be Mahomes, right? Right after that, it's going to be Herbert, Fields, Lamar Jackson, and then also Justin Herbert.
Joe Burrow,
right?
Yeah.
So, but they said Trevor Lawrence, because of all of the new people that they've added, has the potential to potentially be in the top 3 or 4 of the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let everyone else go pick Patrick Mahomes. Let everyone else go get Lamar Jackson. Justin Fields is a sexy pick and all that stuff. I am staying with Trevor Lawrence because you'll probably, let's say auction draft, you'll probably be bidding $9-10. He'll probably be going in the later rounds. Now,
I could see that. Yeah.
Listen in and start bidding him up against me.
I will say that I'm all in on the Justin Fields thing, and the way you guys will see that, I had DJ Moore on the keeper league. I'm keeping him. I think he's going to have a huge year.
Remember that was the trade you and I made. Remember that?
Yeah.
I forgot what I got out of this.
I was so excited. I was like, oh, I can pair DJ Moore together with Tyreek Hill. I was like, that's perfect.
Yeah. No, but Jen, you know my brother. This is what he did with Daniel Jones. This is what he did with Antonio Gibson. This is what he did with Javonte Williams. He picks these players and he's focused on these players, and he just stays on it. And after a while, even if you keep bidding it up, he's going to stay on these things. So that's what he's going to do with Trevor Lawrence. He's going to sit there and just focus on it.
Well, to a degree, if it goes crazy, I'm not that dumb because I still have Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson in my back pocket because if it only goes to like $20, I'm not bidding for Trevor Lawrence.
You guys think Russell Wilson's going to turn around this
Tom,
season?
there is no reason why you would want to pick up a Russell Wilson. Maybe an Aaron Rodgers, but there's no reason why you want to pick up a Russell Wilson.
I disagree. Jen and Jem, Sean Payton is now the head coach. Look at what he did with Drew Brees. I think Tim Patrick is out for the season, but I think a lot of times Sean Payton will change the entire offense around.
Yeah, I actually like Russell Wilson for a bounce back. I agree. I think he can bounce back. I don't know if he's top 10, but he's in that, 10 to 15 range where he can be, a starter. I mean, I think you might even put him in a similar range with like Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith, you think about the year he had in Seattle last year. I could see Russell Wilson, matching up to that.
Okay, Russell Wilson or Daniel Jones?
Oh, Russell Wilson. No, I'm not.
Really? I pick a Daniel Jones over Russell Wilson.
Ooh,
no, Daniel Jones. He's got Darren Waller. He's got Saquon Barkley. He's got legs. I actually think Daniel Jones is a better fantasy quarterback than Russell Wilson.
He has no accuracy at all.
I was gonna say he's good at everything except for throwing.
Now, don't sleep on Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb because I think a lot of times people are not confident in the Cowboys. I think a lot of times Dak Prescott will go under the radar, and that's the one that you should scoop and pick up.
Well, and also with Dak Prescott, remember, and this is why, I love Tony Pollard because he catches the ball so well. So remember, Prescott's going to get credit for any of those little screen passes that go out to Pollard. He's going to get all of those points too. So I agree with you. I think Prescott, if he's drafted, if his ADP goes down this year, that's someone you could target as well.
Well, you know why his ADP is, right? Because McCarthy has continually said, and I was watching the press conference last week, he has said he's committed to running the ball. So they were saying that that's the biggest hesitation for him is that they're saying, are they trying to save Dak Prescott? But I don't know how. I mean, with Tony Pollard being the sole running back with Elliott there, I don't know if they can afford running the ball as much as they did.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Denver, Javonte Williams, I have him on my keeper league. There's a good chance he may start at the beginning of the year, but would you keep him on your keeper league? What would you tell me?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't think I would. So again, just looking at rankings, looks like he's in the 20 to 25 range. For me, that's in a keeper league. I don't know if that's strong enough to say, yes, I'm going to keep, because you only get to keep 4 this year too. So it's a pretty tight list.
Yeah. And I think about it. They're going to be like he's like a J.K. Dobbins. He's going to come back from injury, a pretty serious injury. I think this year he's going to play half the season. I don't think you're going to get Javonte Williams really truly back until the following.
Hey, another guy that I know you like, Jimmy, is Ramondre Stevenson on the Patriots.
Oh yeah.
I think he's really good, and looking forward to him having a little bit more carries this year.
Oh, but that's who they what's his name? Dalvin Cook is going to visit next.
The Patriots, yeah,
Patriots.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I actually believe that at the end of the day, Ezekiel Elliott will end up with the Patriots, and then it will be Dalvin Cook on the Miami Dolphins.
Man, if Cook went to the Dolphins, that would be great. I would not be sad with that. My biggest thing there with Miami, obviously, is Tua. As long as Tua is healthy, that is a really good team.
Yeah.
Quick question. Baker Mayfield. Look, you have Mike Evans, you have all those guys over there. But guess who he's throwing to and having a great connection with? It is a former Super Bowl Hall of Fame quarterback who is one of my favorite players.
Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner's son,
Oh.
Cade Warner, is the star of training camp over with the training. He's an undrafted wide receiver, and they're saying he's done so well. He has a chance to stick with the team because he has done really, really good as a possession receiver.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going after Baker. I mean, even the wide receivers, the running backs, and people have said, "Oh, they're going to be stay." I'm not. There's certain players that I'm going to stay away from. That group.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Just thinking about Tampa, I think Tampa is probably one of the teams that I just don't know who you're going to draft off of that team. That's really cool to hear about Kurt Warner's son. Tommy, I didn't know you were a huge Warner fan. I like Warner as well. Amazing story, but yeah, I don't know. Tampa Bay might be a team to avoid.
Yeah. Hey, did you guys ever watch the movie, the Kurt Warner story?
Is it good?
Fast forward all the way to the end. Avoid all the beginning and everything like that. It is up to the point where he replaces, I think, I completely forgot, Trent something.
Trent Green. Trent Green.
Trent Green, where Trent Green gets hurt.
Yeah.
And then from that point on to bring it. From that point on, all the way to the end is phenomenal. That was the part that I watched on the airplane, and it was a very, very good part.
Yeah, the story I remember. I mean, it was crazy. You always hear about how he was, bagging groceries, and then turned around and is Super Bowl champion. Amazing. I was really rooting for him when he was with the Cardinals. It just would have been really cool to kind of solidify. I mean, you know what? That was the weekend I took my son to the Hall of Fame. Was the weekend that Kurt Warner was inducted.
I will say, Jed, if there's one place that I want to visit, I would love to visit the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Oh, go! It's great. I took my son there 3 years ago. It's a blast. Totally worth it. If you can do it on on the Hall of Fame weekend. Obviously, there's a lot more going on. It's more fun. But it was a great time. My son loved it.
That's the one place I would love to visit.
Hey, quick question for you. A lot of times, Seattle news coming out of Seattle, the start of training camp so far has been Jackson Smith and Jigba. Now, at the same time, we all know there's Tyler Lockett there. There's DK Metcalf over there. Is he someone on your radar? And Jigba, is he someone that you're really targeting and looking at seriously versus the other two? Now, maybe Tyler Lockett, but definitely not DJ Metcalf, right?
Yeah, not over the other two, but definitely as a sleeper. And again, this is one of those teams. If you believe in Geno Smith, if you think last year wasn't a fluke and that he's going to continue it, which I personally agree with, I don't think last year was a fluke, then yeah, I think he's a viable sleeper wide receiver candidate.
Yeah. I know we do mostly auctions in our leagues that we're part of. But for people who are doing snakes, there's going to come this chunk in the middle of the draft. And I'm starting to see it as I'm doing some of these mock drafts where you have to decide, do I go after a Tyler Lockett? Do I go after a DK Metcalf? Do I go after a T. Higgins? The wide receiver from, from Philadelphia. So there's a bunch of them there that you're going to have to decide whether or not you want to go after. And the question then becomes, is picking DK Metcalf at some of these places going to be too high? Because you do have some of these rookies who are coming in the system that might potentially usurp them pretty fast.
A couple other things as we begin to wrap up as well, too. Washington Commanders. It looks like Sam Howell has an early edge over Jacoby Brissett. Brian Robinson has usurped Antonio Gibson is number one on the depth chart. And then from that point on, there's Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson is their first-round draft pick this past year. What are your thoughts on the Washington Commanders? Jed, I'll start with you.
I'll say what my thoughts are is I want to know what's going to be the new name. That's what my thoughts are. I love that Magic Johnson's the new owner down there. I'm hoping it turns things around. For all my friends that are Washington fans, they are super excited to have finally gotten rid of the old owner. And so that's my main question is what's going to be their new name? As far as the players, I don't have a whole lot of hope for this team. So personally, I don't know if I'll be drafting.
Well, see, okay, so here's where I like Brian Robinson. I actually like some of the things. Eric Bieniemy is now the new offensive coordinator. right? If you remember Eric Bieniemy, he's moved on from the Chiefs where he helped build up Mahomes, and now he's the new guy working with Ron Rivera, and he's going to try to prove that he can take an offense and actually build it. So actually, if I'm going to take a bet, I'm willing to bet on a Brian Robinson. I'm willing to bet on who is it, McLaren, to actually have a pretty good year.
Yeah. Hey, here's a couple wide receiver. Here's a couple free agents that's still out there. Let me throw a name out there and ask who you guys would think. Dalvin Cook. Which team do you think he'll end up on?
Now you made me think maybe Miami. I was thinking the Jets, but now with your reporting there, it sounds like maybe he is just using them. So I think Miami would be a great landing spot, or New England. I think it's interesting. I wonder if he's looking for a place where he gets the ball more, or is he looking for a place where he can split carries? Because if he splits carries, it extends his career. So maybe that's what he's thinking about.
Yeah,
Jim, go ahead.
I bet he'll end up with the Dolphins. So.
Yeah. Jim, Ezekiel Elliott, Dallas or New England?
I think he'll end up with New England.
Jarvis Landry.
Oh, I hope he comes to the Bears. How you're talking about that, I thought that would be great. But no, I don't. I really like Landry. I thought he was really underrated when he was in Cleveland. So I hope he lands someplace well because I really like him. But I don't know.
You know who I think he'll end up with? The Packers. Because he's been talking about the Packers, and some people say it's because he really likes the Packers. So I could see him going to the Packers.
Man, are you guys drafting any of the Packers? Aaron Jones, are you drafting them? I mean,
no,
Christian Jones.
Okay.
I like Christian Jones a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, if you ask me to pick a running back, AJ Dillon. Yeah, because I probably could get him pretty low this year. Yeah. Jim, Kareem Hunt.
Oh, I haven't heard his name in a while there because he's not even signed, right?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking to see. I don't know where he's at.
What do you think, Jack?
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard any news, but I know. I mean, I was just glad that he left Cleveland because it clears the way for Nick Chubb. But Kareem Hunt, it's actually, I will say, Hunt didn't do as well once he went from Kansas City to Cleveland. He did not do as. I know he had an injury in there, but he didn't do as well in Cleveland as I thought he would. So I'd be curious to see with this next team. I think this is kind of his last chance to show. If he doesn't really show here, wherever he lands, you might call it a career for that guy.
Yeah,
Jim, my favorite player, Kenny Galladay.
Yeah, I have no idea. You know more about Kenny than I do.
The Bears. I really want the Bears to see Kenny Galladay.
Hey,
that'd be funny.
Tom, can I go back to Kareem Hunt? So here's according to Roto World, they're saying that if there's a team he wants to play, and if most likely if he's going to play, it's going to be with the Cowboys.
Ooh.
Okay.
That's actually, I like that because he can catch the ball, so that's not a bad gig for him to step in there. He's kind of like a Tony Pollard in a lot of ways. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, one former Bear who's still a free agent. Remember this guy? Akeem Hicks is still a free agent sitting out there.
Wow, he's good.
He was pretty good at the defensive
I'm
tackle.
surprised. Yeah, big dude, but really quick. I'm surprised. Man, yeah, I hope he could resign with the Bears somehow, but I don't know.
Another one, Leonard Fournette is still out there as a free agent, and then Carson Wentz is still out there as a free agent, and Teddy Bridgewater.
I think Wentz has really destroyed his reputation, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that stop in Washington really hurt him. So I don't know.
You would think Teddy Bridgewater will be signed somewhere as a backup because right now these backups are making money.
I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to get signed as an assistant coach is what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
If Colt McCoy could be your starting quarterback I think Teddy Bridgewater is way better than Colt McCoy.
Well, as he is a Texan, I cannot like any Texan, so I cannot. I have to agree with you. I do not like Colt McCoy.
Yeah.
So here's my Teddy Bridgewater. According to CBS Sports, he went to visit the Lions, and they tried to sign him earlier this year as a backup. So it might be somebody, the Lions may be somebody that they might look at, given that he's going to take over for Jared Goff.
Man, the Lions are an interesting team. That's another one.
Yeah.
You got to think about, what do you think? Are they going to continue? Because they had some flashes last year where there was a lot of points there.
Yeah. Hey, as we wrap up, any lasting thoughts? We'll probably get together one more next weekend, and we'll see what happens. Just because I'm out in Southeast Asia, and so maybe the both of you guys could report. But any last thoughts as we wrap up for the week?
No, I'm just super excited. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid here in Chicago. I'm really excited for the Bears season, but also excited for fantasy. I do think it's going to be a different year. So if anyone's on the fence about playing this year, or you're thinking about starting for the first time, it's a great year to get in, because I think there's a lot of change, a lot of opportunity to take shots on sleepers and to just get lucky and win. I won 2 out of 4 leagues last year, so I need to continue that streak this year.
Yeah. I'm gonna, just so you know my strategy, I'm gonna go for wide receivers, a good tight end, and I'm gonna go for the rookie running backs. That's my strategy.
That sounds like the strategy of everyone else too, Jimmy. That's the problem.
Versus for me, I think I'm going to go heavy on the wide receivers, go for the mid-round running backs, and then from that point, wait to the end and get my quarterbacks. And that seems to have – now, usually I'll prioritize the running backs, but I think I'm going to prioritize the wide receivers this year.
Yeah. Okay, can I ask you guys something? Maybe this is how we can end it, right? I've been really trying to decide, do you want to spend the big dollars on like a Justin Jefferson, a Travis Kelce, a Jamar Chase, and then just kind of sit tight until the very end? Or would you rather bypass them because you know they're going to get to like $70 or $80 and go after a bunch of these mid-level guys like Garrett Wilson or Christian Watson?
Yeah, I tend to go with the latter. I tend to let everyone spend, and I just sit there and then start picking off all the players and then use that as trade chips later on in the future.
Yeah, see, I'm just not patient enough. I think that's ultimately a better strategy. Drafting is about getting value. That's how you do well when you draft. But I just don't have the patience. And also, plus, I just think it's fun to have superstars. And like when you like for example, DJ Moore, I'm not letting him go just because I want to watch him while he's on the Bears in cheer form. So
no, but okay. So I've always kind of taken Tommy's strategy, right? That I'll let everybody go ahead and I'll pick up the pieces afterwards. But if you're tomorrow, if the start of the season is tomorrow, and you're coming out with Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Tony Pollard, right? That's a pretty formidable team that's going to win week in and week out. But you're spending a lot of money on top tier players.
Yeah. But it also, let's say, for instance, in your dynasty, it depends on how good your dynasty. If you have a rock solid dynasty, then spend really heavily. But if you're just doing a snake or you don't have a dynasty, then I would probably go with the latter one.
I hope none of you are doing
Don't steal my beat.
Do auctions. Do auctions.
Yeah.
Snakes.
Hey, our dynasty league, don't go after Bijan Robinson because I'm going to spend money on him.
I like him. I like Robinson. He's a good
Yeah.
one. It's a good pick.
Oh, knowing that, I'm gonna increase it all the way to $95, right, Jed?
Yeah,
but he's gonna do the same to you.
I think Bijan Robinson's gonna hit at $90 in our dynasty.
Yeah. Hey, a side note, one of the things in our basketball league, I was a little frustrated with Jalen because we were bidding over Tyler Halliburton. Yeah. And that was the keeper, and it went all the way to $89.
Yeah.
And he had a phenomenal year. I look back and I'm sitting there, I should have kept bidding for Tyler Halliburton.
Well, you remember I spent over 100 for what's his name?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Paulo.
Yeah, for Paulo. And I mean, I ended up trading him. Did I trade him to you, Tommy? I ended up trading him. That was fine. But this year with Wembanyama, it's going to be like, I think someone's going to spend. Have we figured out how we're going to solve that? I mean, it's probably just $200 to the first, whoever is the last place from last year, right?
That was me.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Wembanyama screws everything up this year.
Jed, I purposely lost every single game towards the end. I didn't even play any of my players because I wanted to be the first one. I'm going to put straight $200. So, and I'll just instantly buy him, so there's no way out of it. So that was why I was losing all the games.
Well, it's our first first week back in terms of our new season NFL fantasy matchup. And so looking forward to next week when we touch base again.
It's good seeing you guys.
All right. See
All
ya.
right.